My granddaughter Ava and her brother Noah came to stay with me for 2 weeks in July. Their parents needed a break. Work, stress, the usual reasons. I didn't mind. I live alone now, and the house gets too quiet in the summer. The kind of quiet that makes you notice things you shouldn't. My place sits just outside a small lake town, tucked back from the road at the end of a gravel drive. Woods on 3 sides, water on the 4th. It's been in the family since the early 80s. We always said it was perfect for kids' room to run, trees to climb, no neighbors close enough to complain. When Ava and Noah arrived, they ran straight past me and out onto the dock like they always did, kicking off shoes, shouting about who got to jump in first. Ava was 10. Serious for her age, always watching, always thinking. Noah was 8 and couldn't stop moving, couldn't stop talking. He carried a plastic tackle box full of rocks, feathers, and treasures he collected wherever he went. That first week felt like every summer before it. Swimming during the day, popsicles melting down their arms. Long evenings with the sound of cicadas humming so loud it felt like the trees were breathing. Nothing felt wrong. Not yet. It started with the woods. I remember that part clearly because everything felt so ordinary. The kitchen smelled like fresh peas and warm sunlight. The back door was open, letting in the hum of summer insects and the faint sound of water slapping against the dock. Noah came running in barefoot, his feet dirty, his face flushed from the heat. "Grandma," he said, breathless, like he'd been sprinting. "There's something weird by the trees." Kids say that sort of thing all the time. Especially kids with too much imagination and too much freedom. I didn't even look up at first. I asked him what he meant, my fingers still working the peas free from their shells. "The ground's all pushed down," he said. Like something big laid there. That made me pause. I looked out the window, toward the far end of the yard, where the grass thinned and the forest began. From where I sat, the tree line looked the same as it always had, dark, dense, unmoving. I told him deer bed down in the shade all the time. Happens every summer. Nothing strange about it. Noah didn't argue, but he didn't look convinced either. He lingered in the doorway longer than usual before drifting back outside. It was Ava who made me uneasy. She came in later, not running, not calling out. I didn't hear her at all until she was standing in the kitchen, watching me. "They're not, dear Prince," she said. Her voice was calm, too calm for a child. I asked her what she meant. "They're too narrow," she said, "and they're long." She hesitated before that last word, like she was trying to decide whether she should say it at all. I asked how long. She held her arms out in front of her, then widened them. Then, after a moment's thought, she added another few inches, stretching as far as she could. She looked uncomfortable doing it, like the size itself bothered her. "They're spaced far apart, too," she added quietly. Like whatever made them didn't have to step very often. I remember the way she kept glancing toward the back door while she talked. Not scared, not yet. More like cautious. I told myself, kids notice things, adults don't. That didn't mean those things were dangerous. Still, when I went outside later to hang laundry, I found myself watching the tree line more than the clothesline. The woods were silent, thick with shadow, even in the afternoon light. And for the first time since the kids arrived, I didn't feel like the yard belonged to us anymore. A few nights later, I heard it too. I'd fallen asleep in my chair without meaning to. The kind of half-sleep where you're aware of the room, but not quite inside it. The windows were open, letting in the lake breeze, and the curtains stirred just enough to whisper against the wall. That was when the sound came. Not a splash, not quite a voice. It came from somewhere near the water, low and drawn out. Like someone exhaling, slowly, deliberately. Through clenched teeth, I remember thinking it sounded close. I sat up so fast my heart stumbled, trying to catch up. I stayed still, listening, afraid that even shifting my weight might make it happen. A gnor make whatever caused it realize I was awake. The sound didn't repeat. Instead, something worse happened. The cicadas stopped. Every single one of them, all at once. One moment the night was alive with their droning chorus. The next, it was as if someone had flipped a switch and drained the sound from the world. No insects, no frogs, no water lapping at the shore, just silence. The kind that presses against your ears until you re-sure you can hear your own blood moving. I told myself it was normal, that sometimes insects stop when the temperature changes or a predator passes through. That I'd lived here long enough to know better than to panic over every strange noise. Still, I got up and closed the windows, one by one carefully. As quietly as I could, I locked the doors, all of them. I even checked the back screen, even though it had never failed me before. Then, I stood in the kitchen, staring out into the dark yard, trying to convince myself that nothing was standing just beyond the reach of the porch light. Nothing moved. Nothing made a sound. Eventually, I went to bed, though sleep didn't come easy. I lay there, listening to the house settle, every small creak sounding louder than it should have. When morning finally came, it felt like a relief. But the kids noticed something I hadn't. They didn't ask to swim. They didn't grab towels or race for the dock like they always did. Instead, they stayed close to the house, lingering on the porch, finding reasons not to stray far. Ava kept glancing toward the trees. Noah stayed close enough that I could reach him without standing up. Neither of them said anything, but they didn't have to. Something about the night before had followed us into the daylight. It was Ava who finally said it. We were standing side by side at the sink. The late afternoon sun pouring through the window and turning the soap bubbles into tiny rainbows. Noah was outside, close enough that I could hear him moving around on the porch, dragging a stick along the railing. Ava didn't look at me when she spoke. "It waits," she said. I asked her what she meant, keeping my voice light, calm. The way you do when you don't want to feed a child's fears. "By the woods," she added. I set a plate in the rack and turned toward her then. She was staring straight ahead, watching her own hands disappear and reappear in the dishwater. "When we walk toward the dock," she said slowly, "it moves." I asked her what it was. She shrugged. "I don't know, but when we stop, it stops." The way she said it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't excited. It was observational, like she was describing the tide coming in, or the way clouds move across the sky. I felt cold then, even with the sun warming my back through the glass. I asked her how she knew. "Because I tried it," she said. I stopped on purpose. That evening, while the kids were inside, I walked down toward the shoreline myself. The mud near the water was still damp from the morning dew, soft enough to hold impressions clearly. That's where I saw the tracks, bare, narrow, pressed deep into the earth. As if whoever made them weighed far more than they should have. They weren't close together either. Each step was spaced far apart, too far, like it didn't need many steps at all. I stood there longer than I meant to, listening to the woods behind me. Suddenly aware of how exposed I was, with my back turned to them. I didn't let the kids go outside after that. I told them it was too hot, then too late, then that I just wanted them close for the evening. They didn't argue. That night, I sat in the darkened living room with the lights off, watching the yard through the glass. The moon was high enough to throw pale light across the water, turning the dock into a thin, silver line. That's when I saw it move. A shape passed along the water's edge, just far enough from the shore to stay half hidden. Tall, uneven, Its movement wasn't smooth, but it wasn't clumsy either. More like it hadn't quite decided how it preferred to walk. It reached the end of the dock and stopped. Stood there, still. The air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm breaks. I realized then that it wasn't looking at the water. It was listening. Listening to the house. Listening to us. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even lie down. I sat in the living room with the lights off, the house arranged around me like a held breath. The kids were asleep in the back bedroom, their door cracked just enough that I could hear them breathing if I focused on it. That sound soft, steady, was the only thing keeping me anchored. Outside, the yard lay silvered in moonlight. The dock stretched out into the water like a finger pointing somewhere I didn't want to look. Time moved strangely then. Minutes felt thick, heavy. Every small sound, the refrigerator clicking on. The slow tick of the wall clock felt too loud, too exposed. That was when I noticed the shape near the trees. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light. A darker patch of shadow where shadows already lived. I told myself that if I stared long enough, it would resolve into something harmless, a stump. A fallen branch, a trick of tired eyes. It didn't. It shifted. Not suddenly. Not sharply. It leaned. The way a person might when redistributing their weight after standing too long. And that was when I understood something was standing there. Watching it, took a step forward. Then another. Each movement was deliberate, unhurried. It didn't rush. It didn't need to. It moved as if it understood that nothing was going to stop it. When it crossed into the edge of the porch light, my stomach dropped. It was taller than I'd expected. Taller than any person I'd ever seen. Its body was stretched thin, like something pulled too far from its original shape. The limbs bent in places they shouldn't have, joints set at angles that made my eyes struggle to follow them. Its arms hung too low. Its hands, God help. Mitt's hands looked almost human until you noticed the length of the fingers. Too many joints. Too much reach. Its skin was mottled, patchy. I couldn't tell if it was fur thinning in places or skin trying and failing to grow it. The moonlight clung to it in a way that made it look unfinished. It stopped just short of the dock, and then it tilted its head. Slowly, curiously. Like it was trying to understand the shape of the house, the lightless windows, the way life hid behind walls. I had the overwhelming sense that it could hear me breathing, that if I shifted in my chair even slightly it would know. I pressed my lips together and stayed still, my heart pounding so hard I was sure it must be visible beneath my skin. The thing didn't move closer. Instead, it swayed gently from side to side, like someone listening to distant music. Its head lifted, nostrils flaring slightly, and I knew without any doubt that it was smelling us. Not just the house, the kids. That was when I understood something else. This wasn't curiosity. This was assessment. It stood there for a long time. Long enough that my legs began to ache from holding still. Long enough that my fear dulled into something colder and more precise. Then, as quietly as it had arrived, it stepped backward. One slow step, then another. It retreated the same way it came, not turning its back, not hurrying. When it reached the edge of the trees, it paused one last time. Its head turned not toward the house this time, toward the bedroom window, toward where my grandchildren slept. Then it was gone. The woods swallowed it without a sound. I didn't move until the sky began to lighten, and even then, I didn't feel safe. I felt watched, like something out there had memorized the shape of my home, and was simply deciding when to return. We left before the sun had fully risen. The sky was still pale and unsure of itself, the kind of morning that feels unfinished. I didn't wake the kids gently. I didn't make breakfast. I just packed what we needed and told them to put their shoes on. I said I wasn't feeling well, that the house felt too big all of a sudden, that we'd finish their visit another time. They didn't argue. They didn't ask why. That alone told me everything. When I dropped them off, I told their parents the kids had been restless. Nightmares. Trouble sleeping. I said the woods made strange noises at night and it had gotten into their heads. They laughed it off. I didn't correct them. I sold the house before the leaves changed. Didn't wait for winter. And didn't want to be there when the snow came and covered tracks. When the woods grew quiet and everything learned how to move unseen. I never went back once the papers were signed. Ava never mentions that summer. If it comes up, she changes the subject or leaves the room. She doesn't like being reminded of places where the trees stand too close together. Noah still collects rocks. That never stopped. But he keeps them outside now. In jars on the porch or lined up on the windowsill, never near his bed. Sometimes, when they visit me in town, I catch Ava standing by the window, staring at the thin strip of trees across the street. The city noise hums around us, cars, voices, streetlights buzzing, but she watches the shadows between the trunks, like she's waiting for something to move. And when the light starts to fade, she always steps back. Always before it gets dark. As if she understands something the rest of us don't. That some things don't stay where you leave them. And some summers never stop watching you.